wants to climb Mount Hood? Sparrow does. I got a couple takers. Pastor does. You already have? Awesome. You can. It's up to you.
Michael?
But I said, sure, I'd love to. When my friend Darren called me 3 days after Christmas and said, do you want to climb Mount Hood tomorrow? Now, I was only 14 years old, so I was quite a bit younger and smaller than I am right now. But I just wanted to do it. Yeah. I think my mom was a little nervous about it, but what are you going to do? Well, Mount Hood, as you probably know, is a big, tall mountain, and at Christmas time, it is very, very cold. It's covered with snow and ice. But we decided we were going to do it. So we took off to a store called REI, where we got all the supplies we needed. We needed a rope, we needed some big, stiff plastic boots, we needed claws that go on the bottom of the boots called crampons, we needed something called an ice axe, which is like, looks like something you could do some damage with, but it's for safety. So we got all our supplies, we went back home, went to bed, we slept for about 3 hours, and then we got up in the middle of the night and took off for the mountain, because you have to start really early if you're going to climb a tall mountain. Well, as we were driving along, one guy in our party said, guys, I think I forgot the rope. We said, what? So we had to turn around, drive way back out of our way, go get the rope, and we were behind schedule. So we're already running late, but we pressed on. We got to the mountain, we got all of our gear, and we started hiking. And at the beginning, when you hike up Mount Hood, it's a long, slow climb that gets steeper and steeper and steeper as you go. Well, we started walking and climbing and stepping and walking, and we're carrying gear, and we have big, heavy boots on, and so you have to walk about this pace. It's called a rest step. And it's the only way you can keep going, hi, Annie, because it's a long, hard, slow hike. So we were already running late, and then it took us a really long time to get to the top because we were moving so slow. So by the time we finally got to the top of the mountain, it was sundown. Beautiful view, right? Shadow across the valley, the shadow of the mountain. Amazing. But you know why most people don't go on the top of a mountain at sundown? Because then you have to go all the way down in the dark. And that also means that while you were hiking up and while you were on top, the sun that was out, maybe melting a little bit of the snow, softening things up, the sun goes down and it gets warmer or colder? Colder. So everything that softened up during the day is now hard ice. So we started the long trek down, and this is how you have to go down a steep, icy mountain. You got your hard plastic boots on, you stick your leg out, and you fall forward on it. And it creates a little step in the snow and ice. And then you put your foot out and fall forward again. And slowly, you make your way down. Now, if there are any mountaineers here, there's another way you can go down a mountain, which is called glissading, which just means you pretty much just slide on purpose. Now, that can be tricky because if you slide too fast, you could get out of control. But remember how I said we had something called an ice axe? So we would use our ice axe, which looks like a big, long pick, and you can put that in the snow and ice and kind of slow yourself down. Or if you fall all of a sudden, you put it in the ice and you can catch yourself. Remember how I also said we had metal claws on the bottom of our boots called crampons. So we started walking down, and then we said, oh, let's glissade a little bit. We started sliding down, and one girl in our group, she got her crampon sort of stuck in the ice, and her leg went up behind her, and that was dangerous. She was okay. But our leader said, let's go ahead and take off our crampons now. But it was still very icy. But we stopped, we took off our crampons, we put our rope away at that point because we were down off the most tricky stuff. Well, the group leader also said to me, now remember, I was 14 only. He said, Cherilyn, you're already ready. Why don't you go ahead and we'll catch up with you in a minute. Because actually, you could see the lodge all the way down the mountain. It was just really far away. I didn't really know any better, so I said, okay. And I started stepping down the ice. Now, the ice was very thick, and I didn't weigh nearly as much back then, so I couldn't make a very good step in the ice for myself. So I was stepping and stepping and stepping. Oh, I slid, but I jammed my ice axe in the ice. I caught myself. I said, whew. Okay, that was scary. And I looked up the mountain. I said, Darren, Denise. And all I heard was wind. And by this time, it was very dark and very cold. And I said, man, I don't want to sit here by myself. I'm going to get really cold. So I said, okay, I can do this. So I step, slip, slide, shh! I was out of control. I could not get my ice axe in the ice. I was sliding so fast, I couldn't get in. And zoom, I slid out of control 500 feet down the mountain, totally out of control. And I was so scared. I was terrified. I actually felt like I might die. That's how out of control I was. I was so scared that I said, help! And I kept sliding and sliding and sliding, and I said, Jesus, help! True story. And I slid to a stop. On a little part that leveled out? Nope. I just slid to a stop, somehow on that icy, steep sheet. And I was just sort of terrified and shaking, and I just said to myself, I'm not going anywhere without those guys. And I jammed my ice axe into the ice, and I just held onto it for all I was worth. And I kept calling up the mountain, Darren, Denise, Darren, Denise. And finally, after I don't know how much time, 2 little headlamps started coming down in the snow, and they caught up to me. Now, the ice was so thick, I couldn't make steps for myself. So then, once I was back with the group, Darren let me walk in his steps. And every time he would step, I would step in the same spot behind him so that I could walk down the mountain without sliding. Well, we finally made it back to the lodge safely, but we were super late. Do you think my mom was like really chill and relaxed? No. She was worried. Now, do you guys think maybe you might have had an angel helping me stop on the mountain? Yeah, maybe Jesus heard me. Absolutely. That's right. And I want you guys to remember that anytime you feel afraid or alone, that you are never actually alone. You always have angels with you to protect you, so you never have to feel scared and lonely.
Amen.
Okay,
Amen.
thank you.
Amen. Thank you.